Just check. Send out a note. And check to make sure we are live streaming. Oh, right. I think we are. Hold on a second. We need to spotlight. Okay, just give me 1 second to make sure everything's going all right. Very good. Okay, we are ready to roll. All right, let us start. So tonight we have a better internet connection, so it should be better. Jaya Jaya Vrindavana Vasiyana Jaya Dvijapatni Jaya Nakakanyagan Bhakti Teya Varamailo Govinda Charan Shri Rasa Mandala Jaya Jaya Radha Shanam Jaya Jaya Rasa Lila Jaya Rasa Sarvarasa Marakiya Bhavena Prajate Jijanama Padma Koryasmarana Dina Krishna Dasakoe Namasankirtan Jaya Radhe Jaya Krishna Jaya Vrindavan Adi Krishna 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 Adi 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Adi Rama 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 Adi Hare Krishna 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 Adi Adi Rama 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 Adi Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Pada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Haribo Haribo Holy Jackal Haribo 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 Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravatikacharya also Tada Siddhashi Shimad His Divine Grace Abhaya Chalana Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai His non-founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti, Vrinda ki jai, Namacharya, Srila Vilas Thakur ki jai, Prem Se Gahu Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopikapanath Shyam Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan ki jai, Vrindavanam ki jai, Maturidam ki jai, Jagadasami ki jai, Yamunamai ki jai, Shimani Lasidevi ki jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Gaur Premananda, Hari Hari Bol. All glories the assembled devotees, all glories the assembled devotees, all glories the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale, Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve, Gauravani Pacharane Nivashesha Shunyavadi Paschacha Deja Tarane. So we are here still in the capital of North Carolina. And we're right near the university where we've been sharing Krishna consciousness with the students all day long. It's pretty ecstatic. It's like Back to the Future or back. Anyway, this is where I belong. Okay, on that happy note, because we're here to share Krishna consciousness. And we can do a little stuff like management on the side and different things on the side, but sharing Krishna consciousness is the most blissful activity. Anyway, so on that happy note, we're going to continue with our reading of the Caitanya Caritamrta. So, Om Gana Tivinanda Shagadanjana Shlakaya Chakshur Meditam Yena Tasmai Shikadvenoha. I offer my respectful obeisances at the lotus feet of my divine spiritual master, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. He saved me from the darkness of ignorance with a torchlight of knowledge. So now we're going to the Caitanya Caritamrta. We are reading from the 14th chapter of the Madhya Lila of the Caitanya Caritamrta, and we're starting with text number 17. And in this chapter we see Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy upon King Prataparudra. So let's share the screen. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. All right. Prabhu Bale Ketumi Karila Moraita Achambitayasi Piao Krishna Lilamrita. Finally, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "Who are you? You have done so much for me. All of a sudden you have come here and made me drink the nectar of the pastimes of Lord Krishna." Of course, here Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is referring to King Prataparudra, who came to read and serve Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dressed as an ordinary person, not dressed as a king. And Lord Chaitanya is really aware who he is, but he's sort of making believe that he doesn't know who he is so that he can give King Prataparudra his mercy without being criticized for associating with materialistic kings. So, Rajakahe Ami Tumara Dashera Nudasa Prichera Brichakara Emora Asha. The king replied, "I am your most obedient servant of your servants. It is my ambition that you will accept me as the servant of your servants. Purport: the greatest achievement for a devotee is to become a servant of the servants of the Lord. Actually, no one should desire to become the direct servant of the Lord. Wow, that is not a very good idea. I'll repeat that. Actually, no one should desire to become a direct servant of the Lord. That is not a very good idea. Of course, we should identify ourselves as servants of the Lord, but we understand that we are serving the Lord not directly, but through the agency of the Lord's service or servants. So that's what it means to say Gopi Bar to Padakamalor, Dasa, Dasa, Dasanu Dasa. So when Prahlad Maharaj was offered a benediction by Nrsimhadeva, Prahlad rejected all kinds of material benedictions, but he prayed to become the servant of the servants of the Lord. When Dhruva Maharaj was offered a benediction by Kuvera, the treasurer of the demigods, Dhruva could have asked for unlimited material opulence, but he simply asked for the benediction of becoming the servant of the servants of the Lord. Kolavechar Shudhar was a very poor man, but when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to give him a benediction, he also prayed to the Lord to be allowed to remain a servant of the servants of the Lord. The conclusion is that being the servant of the servants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the highest benediction one can desire. I'm going to repeat that. I'm going to highlight that too. The conclusion is that being the servant of the servants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the highest benediction one can desire. In other words, higher than going back to Godhead, higher than becoming liberated. It's the highest benediction. It's Prabhupada's own words. So, Tabe Maha Prabhu Tanre Aishvarya Dekaila Kariha na karibe nisheda karila. At that time, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu displayed some of his divine opulences to the king, and he forbade him to disclose this to anyone. Rajahina Gyanakabu Vikaila Prakasha Antare Sakala Gyanena Bahire Udasa. Although within his heart Chaitanya Mahaprabhu knew everything that had happened, externally he did not disclose it, nor did he disclose that he knew he was talking with King Prataparudra. He knew it, but to avoid criticism, he acted as though he didn't know it. Interesting. Prataparudra Bhagya Deki Vakta Kane Vichare Prashangse Sabe Anandita Mane. Seeing the Lord's special mercy upon King Prataparudra, the devotees praised the king's good fortune, and their minds became open and blissful. This is a characteristic of a pure Vaishnava. He is never envious if another devotee receives the mercy and strength of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. A pure Vaishnava is very happy to see a person elevated in devotional service. Unfortunately, there are many so-called Vaishnavas who become envious to see someone actually recognized by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It is a fact that no one can preach Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's message without receiving the special mercy of the Lord. This is known to every Vaishnava. Yet there are some envious people who cannot tolerate the expansion of this Krishna consciousness movement all over the world. They find fault with the preacher who has spread this movement and do not praise him for the excellent service he has rendered in fulfilling Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission. Of course, that's a very pointed statement by Prabhupada, referring to certain members of the Gaudiya Math. Not all the members, but certain members of the Gaudiya Math who criticized Prabhupada. They actually said Prabhupada was successful because he liked hanging out with low-class people. I mean, this is really heavy criticism of Srila Prabhupada. Or he was successful because he was a good businessman. Not understanding that Prabhupada was successful. Why? Because he took the words of his spiritual master as his life and soul. So you find this enviousness everywhere, of course, not only with Prabhupada and other people associated with, people who criticize Prabhupada, but you find this wherever you are in the material or spiritual spheres. So, in order to counteract that within our own hearts, we should praise people for their service to Krishna. I remember how happy I was and am to praise my godbrother Bhakti-tirtha Maharaj, who did so much to please Prabhupada. So much, so many risks going into the Iron Curtain countries, risking his life, doing so many things, giving up sleeping and all bodily comforts. I'm just very proud. I mean, pride is all right. But instead of pride in yourself, you can be proud of your guru. You can be proud of your god brothers and god sisters. You can be proud of any Vaishnava, just proud of them. So that's how you give a false pride. There's nothing wrong with pride. But false pride means to be proud of something that's not worthy of pride. So be proud of others, how well they're serving Krishna. Prabhupada was like that too. Prabhupada was very proud of his disciples. Whew. All right. So we have to be careful of this tendency, it's like this green envy tendency. Why is envy green? I don't know. Dandavat kari rajavahire chalila yurahashta kari saba bhaktere vandila. Submissively offering prayers to the devotees with folded hands and offering obeisances to Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. The king went outside. Madhyana Karila Prabhu Lana Bhakta Kana Vaninatha Prasada Lada Kaila Gama. Agamana. After this, Vaninath Roy brought all kinds of prasadam, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted lunch with the devotees. Sarvabhauma Ramananda Vaninathe Diya Prasada Patla Raja Bahuta Kariya. The king also sent a large quantity of prasadam through Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Ramananda Roy, and Vaninath Roy. Balagandi Bogera Prasada Uttama Hananta Nishakati Prasada Aila Yaranagi Anta. The prasadam sent by the king had been offered at the Balagandi festival and included uncooked milk products and fruits. It was all of the finest quality, and there was no end to the variety. Text 26. Chana Pana Paina Amra Narikela Kantala Nanavira Kalalaka Arabija Tala. There were curd, fruit juice, coconut, mango, dried coconut, jackfruit, various kinds of bananas, and palm fruit seeds. This is the first list of prasadam offered to Lord Jagannath. Let's go over that again. It's interesting to read. Curd, that's from milk, fruit juice, coconut, mango, dried coconut, jackfruit, various kinds of bananas, and palm fruit seeds. Prabhupada actually said jackfruit, if it's cooked a certain way, is vegetarian meat. In other words, it tastes like meat if it's cooked the right way. And in Fiji, they have this nice dish called lanka, which is actually jackfruit cooked in that particular way with tomato sauce. And the reason it's called lanka, it reminds one of Lanka and Ravan. So, not really. This is the first list of prasadam offered to Lord Jagannath. Naranga Cholanga Tabakamala Bijapura Padama Chohara Drakshapinda Karjura. There were also oranges, grapefruit, tangerines, almonds, dried fruit, raisins, and dates. Manoharu ladu adi shateka prakara amrita gotika hari shirasa apara. There were hundreds of different types of sweet meats like manohara ladu. Manohara means stealing the mind. Manohara ladu. It's not manohara, it's manohara ladu. Means to steal the mind. It's so delicious. Sweets like amrita, utika, and various types of condensed milk. Amritamanda Saravati Harakun Kumda Kuri Saramrita Sarabhaja Arasarapuri. There are also papayas and saravati, a type of orange, and also crushed squash. There were also regular cream, fried cream, and a type of puri made with cream. Oh my God. I wish I was young again so I could enjoy these types of prasadam. Anyway, right now it's not possible. Wait till I get a spiritual body. Hari Balaba Zenoti Karpura Malati Dalima Maricha Ladu Navhata Amriti. There were also the sweets known as Hari Balaba, sweets made of Senoti flowers, Karpura flowers, and Malati flowers. There were pomegranate sweets made with black pepper, sweets made with fused sugar, and Amrita jalebi. Amriti jalebi. I wonder what that is. Anyway. Padmachini Chandrakanti Kaja Kandasara Vihari Kadma Tilaka Jara Prakara. There were, too far. There were lotus flower sugar, a kind of bread made from urd dal, crispy sweetmeats, sugar candy, fried rice sweets, sesame seed sweets, and cookies. Oh, so here's the answer to that. And cookies made from sesame seeds. So, amriti is a kind of jalebi, very tasty. Okay, I'll remember that for my next life. Daranga cholanga amra vrikshara akara pula pala patra yukta kandera vikara. There were sugar candy sweetmeats formed into the shape of orange, lemon, and mango trees, and arranged with fruits, flowers, and leaves. Dadidugda nani takra rasala shikarini salavana mutkan kura adakana kani. There were yogurt, milk, butter, buttermilk, fruit juice, a preparation made of fried yogurt and sugar candy, and also salty mung dal sprouts with shredded ginger. I would have liked that. Lembu kula adinana prakara achara likitena pari prasada kateka prakara. There were also various kinds of pickles, lemon pickles, berry pickles, and so on. Indeed, I'm not able to describe the variety of food offered to Lord Jagannath. I'm sure they also had mango pickles. In verses 26 to 34, the author describes the various foods offered to Lord Jagannath. He has described them as far as possible, but he finally admits his inability to describe them completely. Prasade Purita Haila Hardo Pavana Dekya Santosha Haila Mahaprabhuram Mana. When Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu saw half of the garden filled with a variety of prasadam, he was very satisfied. Hey Mata Jagannatha Karena Bhojana Hey Sukha Mahaprabhura Judaya Nayana. Indeed, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was fully satisfied just to see how Lord Jagannath accepted all the food. So, following in the footsteps of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, a Vaishnava should be fully satisfied simply to see a variety of food offered to the deity of Jagannath or Radha Krishna. A Vaishnava should not hunger for a variety of food for his own sake. Rather, his satisfaction is in seeing various foods being offered to the deity, and as Guru Vastika Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur writes, Chatur Vithar Sri Bhagavat Prasada Swadhana Tirthan Hri Bhakta Sanghan Tripfaiva Triptim Bhajatak Sadaiva Bande Guru Sri Charanaravinda. The spiritual master is always offering Krishna 4 kinds of delicious food, analyzed as that which is licked, chewed, drunk, and sucked. Sometimes says swallowed, but anyway. When the spiritual master sees that the devotees are satisfied by eating Bhagavat Prasada, he is satisfied. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master. The spiritual master's duty is to engage his disciples in preparing varieties of nice foods to offer the deity. After being offered, this food is distributed as prasadam to the devotees. These activities satisfy the spiritual master, although he himself does not eat or require such a variety of prasadam. By seeing to the offering and distribution of prasadam, he himself is encouraged in devotional service. And that is a fact. I personally experienced that. That obviously I eat very simply every day. Breakfast is just fruits and some nuts. Dinner is something called kasha, which none of you know what it is, with some vegetables, an avocado, and sauerkraut, and that's about it. And no sweets. I mean, sometimes a little natural sweet or something like that, but generally that's it. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's it. But when I see mountains of prasadam of different varieties, tastefully prepared with great devotion for the deities, I become very, very happy. I don't need to eat it. I can see with my eyes. In this way, we actually eat with our eyes. We don't actually eat, but we appreciate the love and devotion of the devotees, and that's real happiness. So the real happiness is actually from the heart, yatma, supersedity, heart happiness. The happiness is not from the tongue or the material eyes or the ears. Oh, ears hearing about Krishna tongue prasam. I understand that. Eyes seeing the form of the Lord. Yes, I understand that. But from the contact of the material senses with their sense objects, that's not where happiness comes from. It comes from Krishna's happiness. And that, of course, is what Radharani states, or what Lord Chaitanya states in the mood of Radharani, which is the same thing, things equal to the same thing or equal to each other. Lord Chaitanya says, if my unhappiness makes Krishna happy, then that's my happiness, that's what I want. Because the real happiness is satisfying the person you love. Krishna consciousness is all about love. I was describing that to some of the students today, that if you love Krishna, Radha and Krishna, then automatically that love gets distributed to all living entities and you become full of love. You even love the trees and the birds and the bees and all entities. That rhymes. Wow. The birds and the bees and all entities. Wow, here's my next song. So, Kaya Patra Dhruniyala Bhoja Panchasata Eka Eka Jane Dasha Dona Dila Eta Pata. There then arrived 5 or 7 loads of plates made of the leaves of the Caitanya tree. Each man was supplied 10 of these plates. And in this way, the leaf dishes were distributed. That's a lot of plates. Kirtaniyara Parishrama Jane Goraraya Tanzabare Kauyaite Prabhuramana Daya. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu understood the labor of all the kirtan chanters, therefore he was very eager to feed them sumptuously. In other words, as Prabhupada said, if you can work like an elephant, you can eat like an elephant. And if you work like a sparrow, eat like a sparrow. But if you eat like an elephant and you work like a sparrow, then you'll sleep like a bear. Prabhupada didn't say that final portion. I said it. I was just adding a little bit. Panti panti karivakta ganeva saila pariveshana karibare apane lagila. All the devotees sat down in lines and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally began to distribute the prasadam. Prabhu na kaile keana kare bhojana Sarupa Goswami tabe kaila nivedana. But the devotees would not accept the prasadam until Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took it. Sarupa Goswami informed the Lord of this. Apane Vaisa Prabhu Bhojana Karite Tumina Kaela Keha Napari Kaite. Sarup Damodar said, My Lord, please sit down. No one will eat until you do so. Tabe Mahaprabhu Vaise Nijagana Lana Bhojana Karaila Sabai Ke Akanta Puriya. At that time, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sat down with his personal associates and had every one of them fed very sumptuously until they were filled to the necks. It's a lot of prasadam. I remember we used to do that in the early days. Oh, sparrows eat 3 times their bodily weight daily, but still they eat very little. Bhojana Kari Vasila Prabhu Karya Chamana Prasada Upadila Kaya Sahasrika Jana. After finishing, the Lord washed his mouth and sat down. There was so much extra prasadam that it was distributed to thousands of people. Prabhura Odhyaya Govinda Dina Hina Jane Duki Kangala Ani Karaya Bhojane. Following in the orders of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Govinda, his personal servant, called for all the poor beggars who were unhappy due to their poverty and fed them sumptuously. Like Prabhupada said, we should make sure that no one near our temples or anyone within, let's say, a 10-mile radius is going hungry. That's a devotee's business. There was that whole story when Prabhupada and devotees were taking prasadam and then they threw the prasadam leaves in the garbage. Then what happened is, because the prasadam leaves still had some prasadam on them, the dogs were actually trying to take some of that. And then there were children who were hungry, who were fighting with the dogs for that little bit of prasadam that was left on the prasadam leaves. And when Prabhupada saw that, Prabhupada started crying. And Prabhupada said, at this point, no one who was hungry within, let's say, a 10-mile radius should actually go without food. And he demanded that the devotees distribute prasadam, and as a result, the devotees built this massive prasadam mandir in which you could feed hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands of people simultaneously. And that's still going on today. Kangalera Bhojana Ranga Degi Gorahari Hori Bula Balitare Upadesha Kari. Observing the beggars eating prasadam, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chanted Hari Bol and instructed them to chant the holy name. In a song, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur chants, Mijay Mayaro Hashe Yatsha Beshe Kachu Habu Dubai Jeev Krishna Das Evishwas Karleta Hara Dukanai. O people, why are you being captivated by the waves of the ocean of nescience? If you would immediately accept Lord Shri Krishna as your eternal master, there would be no chance of being carried away by the waves of illusion. Then all your sufferings would stop. Krishna conducts the material world under the three modes of material nature, and consequently, there are three platforms of life: higher, middle, and lower. On whatever platform one may be situated, one is tossed by the waves of material nature. Someone may be rich, someone may be middle class, and someone may be a poor beggar. It doesn't matter. As long as one is under the spell of the three modes of material nature, he must continue to experience these divisions. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore advised the beggars to chant Hari Bol while taking prasadam. Chanting means accepting oneself as the eternal servant of Krishna. This is the only solution regardless of social position. Everyone is suffering under the spell of Maya. Therefore, the best course is to learn how to get out of the clutches of Maya. How to do so is stated by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita in the 14th chapter, text 26. Mam cha yogi vicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunhan samadikyoitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. One who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. In other words, to engage in devotional service without stop 24 hours a day, then you actually come to the level of spirit or Brahman. One can overcome the spell of Maya and attain the transcendental platform by agreeing to engage in the devotional service of the Lord. Devotional service begins with what? Shravanam Kirtanam. This is from Prahlad Maharaj's instructions in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th canto, 5th chapter, text 23. All the activities of Krishna consciousness, what we call the Nava Bhakti activities, Shravanam Kirtanam, Vishnu Smartam, etc., begin with hearing and chanting. Shravanam means to hear, Kirtanam means to chant, because you can't do any other activity nicely for Krishna, at least until you hear. Essential. If you don't hear, you won't know what to do. Therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu advised the beggars to chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra for elevation to the transcendental position. On the transcendental position, or platform, there is no distinction between the rich, the middle class, and the poor. Hari Bola Mali Kangala Preme Vasiya Aichanad Bhuta Lila Kare Gora Raya. As soon as the beggars chanted the holy name, Hari Bol, they were immediately absorbed in ecstatic love of Godhead. In this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu performed wonderful pastimes. To feel the emotion of ecstatic love is to be on the transcendental platform. If one can keep himself in that transcendental position, he will surely return home back to Godhead. In the spiritual world, there are no higher, middle, or lower classes. This is confirmed in the Upanishad, 7th verse. Yasmin Sarvani Bhutani Atma Vaibhud Vijanataha Tatra Komo Kashloka Ikathom Manupashyataha. One who always sees all living entities as spiritual sparks in quality one with the Lord becomes a true knower of things. What then can be illusion or anxiety for him? Very, very important. To see the inherent equality of all living entities. And that's the actual peace formula. Nobody is black or white or male or female, maturely, of course. Uh, Nobody is old or young, maturely. We are all just part and parcel of Krishna. We're all the same. We're equal. A bug is equally dear to Krishna as you or me. Remember that. That's a pretty humbling thought. That bug, which you are trying to get rid of, that cockroach that you are trying to get rid of, that animal that you are feeling so hateful towards, is just as dear to Krishna as you are. And your being angry at him is displeasing, or her, is displeasing to Krishna. Remember that. Ihan Jagannath Pera Rata Chalana Samayaha Goda Saba Rata Tane Age Nahi Haya. Outside the garden, when it was time to pull Jagannath's car, all the workers called Godas tried to pull it, but it would not move forward. Tanite Napare Goda Ratachari Dila Patra Mitra Lanadraja Vyagrahana Haela. When the goddess saw that they could not budge the car, they abandoned the attempt. Then the king arrived in great anxiety, and he was accompanied by his officers and friends. Mahamalagane Dilarata Chalaite Apane Lagilarata Napare Tanite. The king then arranged for big wrestlers to try to pull the car, but even the king himself joined in. But the car could not be moved. Vyagrahana Aniraja Matahati Gana Rachachalaite Rate Karila Yojana. Becoming even more anxious to move the car, the king had very strong elephants brought forth and harnessed to it. Matahasti Ganatane Yarayata Bala Ekapada Nachale Rata Ahila Achala. The strong elephants pulled with all their strength, but still the car remained at a standstill, not budging an inch. Shuni Mahaprabhu Aila Nijagana Lana Motohosti Ratatane Deke Dandana. As soon as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard this news, he went there with all his personal associates. They then stood there and watched the elephants try to pull the car. Anukushera Gayasti Kare Chitkara Ratanai Chale Loke Kare Haha Kara. The elephants being beaten by the elephant goad were crying, but still the car would not move. The assembled people cried out, "Alas! Tabi Mahaprabhu Saba Hasti Gu Chaila Nijagane Ratakachi Tanivare Dila." At that time, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu let all the elephants go free and placed the car as ropes in the hands of his own men. Apane Ratera Pache Tele Mataktiya Hod Kari Rata Chalila Daya. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then went to the back of the car and began to push with his head. It was then that the car began to move and roll along, making a rattling sound. Bhattakana Kachihate Karimatradaya Apane Chalila Rata Tanite Napaiha. Indeed, the car began to move automatically, and the devotees simply carried the ropes in their hands. Since it was moving effortlessly, they did not need to pull it. See, just by the pushing of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's head. Anande Karaye Loka Jaya Jaya Dwanhi Jaya Jagannatha Vai Aranahi Shuni. When the car moved forward, everyone began to chant with great pleasure. All glories, all glories, all glories to Lord Jagannath. No one could hear anything else. I think we'll end here and we'll take some questions. We'll stop sharing for a second and we will allow you to unmute yourselves if you wish to do so, or we will allow you to raise your hand if you wish to do so and then unmute yourself. So, who has a questionito? Okay, going once, going twice.
Gurudev, please accept my humble
Okay,
obeisances.
Rakesh, what's up?
Uh, Gurudev, this question is regarding my chanting. I wrote it down the question, so I'll read it. When I chant after 5 to 6 rounds, pressure starts to build inside my head. Sometimes it gets so bad, it feels the head will break apart. It only happens when I pay attention to my chanting. Why is it?
Sounds like a symptom of ecstasy.
It really, really hurts, Guru Maharaj. I have to go to sleep.
Well, I'll tell you, joking aside, I could probably tell you why your head starts hurting because you're not breathing when you're chanting. Uh, there's this thing called japa apnea. Japa apnea means when one is chanting, one doesn't breathe properly. And then you can get a headache, you can lose consciousness, so many things can happen. I do not think what you're experiencing is a symptom of ecstasy. So you have to learn how to breathe while you're chanting japa. Uh,
I
not
had
breathing
it
will
before.
cause all sorts of problems.
Okay.
So you understand? So listen to your chanting and find out when you're not breathing. Then you may have to chant a little slower, or you may have to do what I do is chanting on the ingoing breath as well as the outgoing breath, like Hare Krishna, like that. So you may have to learn how to chant when you're breathing in. So there's different ways that different people do it. Some people do it Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare. I do it while I'm breathing in.
I want to go a bit further on that. Like for first to 5, 6 round, when my consciousness is there, but when I start thinking of like today you did the class on Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I start thinking of that class and I start to play the movie in my head, what Mahaprabhu was probably doing at that time. And at that time, I don't have consciousness on my breath. It starts to go to the movie, like in playing in my head, and then I'm chanting at the same time. And then sometimes I get in and out of that, and then it just happens like it starts to hurt.
Be conscious of your breathing. I think that that's most important. You have to breathe and chant and follow the rules and regulations. You have to be a vegetarian.
I am.
No, no intoxication. You're a pure vegetarian now, right?
Yes, yes, I am. Yes, Guru Maharaj.
No intoxication, no illicit
No,
sex, no gambling.
no, no, not doing any of those things.
That's good. So then just watch your breath and just, or as Prabhupada said, if you chant properly, then those symptoms will go away after some time.
No, thank you, Guru.
Okay, who else has a question?
Gurudev,
Yes, Praneshra. Where are you? You're at Govardhan right now?
no, I'm in Delhi, Gurudev now.
Where are you?
In Delhi, in IIT.
Oh, it looks like Govardhan to me.
It's a background.
I
Oh,
know, I know. I'm just joking. So what's the question?
Gurudev, like pride and false pride. So, what is like the difference? And also, the pride is good in some sense. Yeah, it's always like it's like proud.
Yeah, proud. It's good to be proud of your spiritual master. It's good to be proud of the other devotees. It's good to be proud of Krishna. It's good to be proud of uh, Vrindavan. It's good to be proud of everything related to Krishna. but of oneself, then when it's not a good idea. It's actually a spiritual problem if one is proud of oneself, starts to brag about oneself. Now, on the other hand, we do need appreciation. There's a difference between appreciation and pride. Appreciation means basically feedback. Just like if you work in the business field, then you'll have people who may appreciate you or criticize you to help you do something better. So, this appreciation means feedback so that we're doing something nice. And that means in Krishna's service, we're understanding that we're pleasing Krishna. And so that's very much wanted, that sort of appreciation. Now, the difference between appreciation and pride is that pride is just a general statement, or being, let us say, you're proud means a general statement like, I am great, I am wonderful, I am the most intelligent person, like that. And appreciation is when we hear from another person, or even within ourselves, I am happy that I did this well, or you did this well. That's appreciation. Pride is general, praise is general, appreciation is specific. Does everybody understand that? It's very important.
Yes.
Praise is general. You are wonderful. You are great. You are God's gift to man. That's praise, which is like pride, which leads to pride. And appreciation is, you distributed so many books yesterday. I really appreciate how you've contributed to Srila Prabhupada's movement. So when we are appreciating someone, or appreciating ourselves, which is self-appreciation, then it's important to connect it to some really deep value in our lives. Because without connecting to a value, then it may lead to false pride. And our value is to please Prabhupada. So let's say I appreciate that I distributed 100 books today. I didn't. I said just an example, theoretical. I appreciated that I distributed 100 books today, and because it pleases Prabhupada, and pleasing Prabhupada is my basic value in life. Okay?
Yes.
Okay. Our preaching center is a secret. It's only for people who are invited. So it's a very specialized type of preaching. So any other questions? Does anyone else have any questions or comments? We have no one else. Oh, here it's better not to serve. Wait a second. Here's a question from, who's this from? It's Mantrini. Hare Krishna Gurudev, we just read that it's better not to serve Krishna directly rather than be a servant of serving the Lord. When I think about it, I don't understand how it is better as we do bhakti to associate with the Lord. Please clarify. It's we serve Krishna directly as a servant of the Lord. In other words, just like when I do deity worship, I'm serving Krishna directly, either Giriraj or Radha Golokananda, but I'm doing it by the mercy as a servant of Prabhupada. I'm assisting Prabhupada in doing that. That's my consciousness. So both things are there. Yes, there's direct service, but we're considering ourselves as assistants to the pure devotees who are serving Krishna. That is our spiritual master and the disciplic succession. We're servants of Narada Muni, we're servants of Srila Vyasa, we're servants of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, we're servants, of course, of Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. We are servants of Gaura Das Babaji Maharaj. I'm not going to name everybody. Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami. So it's very nice when you think about it, when you're doing the direct service for the deities, if you think about how you're serving everyone in the disciplic succession, all your spiritual predecessors, it's a very ecstatic feeling, a very ecstatic mood. Okay? All right. Any other questions? Who else has a question?
Hare Krishna
Sumuk.
Gurudev.
Yeah, Sumuk, what's up?
Uh, all good here. Just a small question. Remember I asked you about the devotee fall down last time, and I was thinking, uh, the cause of the fall down. There were two things in my mind. One was eating food which is not cooked by a pure devotee, and secondly was correcting other devotees. So I realized that I corrected one devotee, and the devotee said that she felt hurt when I corrected her.
Hmm.
So uh, I realized that it is because of that fall down was there. So what should I do when correct? I mean, if you see something, I felt like that. Don't say correct anyone else.
No, and if you see something that needs correction, then you have to gently go to the person and see if it's possible to correct them. And if it's not possible, then you just have to just encourage them to work in a spirit of devotion. That's what Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. We encourage people to work in the spirit of devotion. What is the use of correction where we discourage people in devotional service? Of course, if someone is doing something really bad, if they're offering meat to Krishna, I mean, you got to correct people like that. But if someone's making some mistake, you have to be very careful about correcting Vaishnavas. Just takes a lot of discrimination to figure that out, how to correct someone. Just be careful. Just be careful because people don't like to be corrected. Sometimes you can just say, "Wouldn't you rather do it this way?" or "Can I help you?" Uh, or "Would you like some feedback?" You can even ask them, "Would you like some feedback?" And if they say no, then that's it. That's it. So you have to determine who you're talking to, what sort of mood they're in, before you actually do some correction. All right?
Yes, Gurudev. Thank you.
Okay. Nice question. So I think we're going to end right now. We'll see everybody tomorrow. I guess that's it. All glory is to His divine grace. Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.